Let's jump right into this explainer on what we're calling the echo chamber archetype. Looking at the data, Gen Z is literally the first generation to grow up entirely connected. I mean, there has never been a generation before this one that had an audience available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We were told, way back at the dawn of the social web, that the internet was going to be this ultimate tool for connection. It promised to bring us all together, but if we look closely at how we interact today, well, somewhere along the way, that promise totally shifted. Instead of just connecting us, the internet kind of turned a lot of us into performers, constantly seeking the applause of a crowd we can't even see. Every photo, every opinion, every little achievement, and even every failure can be posted, judged, liked, shared, and debated in a matter of seconds.
So, I want you to really think about this jarring question. Does a stranger's opinion matter more to you than a friend's? Now, it sounds completely ridiculous when you say it out loud, right? Like, obviously you care about your friends, but honestly, watch your own behavior. Watch your mood the next time you post something online. If your best friend texts you a compliment, you smile, sure. But if a total stranger criticizes your outfit or your take on a movie in the comments section, that can literally ruin your entire afternoon. Why in the world do we give so much power to people we don't even know?
You're scrolling, you're swiping, and then, boom, a random comment. A notification pops up. Just a little burst of text from a username you've never seen before.
Then, bam, a heart emoji. Someone all the way across the world, someone you will probably never meet, just validated your very existence with a quick double tap. For Gen Z, validation doesn't just come from the people in our physical neighborhoods anymore. We're getting these microdoses of validation from thousands of virtual strangers.
And then, a repost. Your thought is now their thought. It's this rapid, staccato rhythm of just endless notifications. But we really have to stop and ask ourselves, what actually happens to the human brain, and honestly to the human spirit, when our entire identity depends on this rapid-fire, constant external approval?
All right, part 1, the validation economy.
Okay, let's dive into this. Social media platforms are fundamentally misunderstood. We talk about them like they're just communication tools, like a digital telephone or an email service. But they aren't just communication tools anymore. They operate as these massive, incredibly complex marketplaces where we are actively trading validation. Imagine the number 99,999 just rapidly ticking up, almost like a slot machine paying out. In this economy, every single metric feels like undeniable proof. It's proof that you're attractive, proof you're funny, proof that your life is successful, and ultimately, proof that you matter. We've started using these arbitrary engagement metrics as a literal ledger for our own personal worth.
And here is the science the sources point out as to why this works so incredibly well. Social media platforms are intentionally designed around engagement, and engagement absolutely thrives on emotional rewards. When a post performs well, our brains release dopamine. It's the exact same neurotransmitter associated with anticipation and reward that you'd get from gambling or eating a ton of sugar. These engagement algorithms basically force us into chasing these chemical reactions. We aren't just sharing fun moments from our day anymore, we're actively chasing biological reactions. Often without even realizing, our brains have essentially been hacked by the platform's code.
Moving on to part 2, the echo chamber effect.
And this brilliantly illustrates the inevitable result of this marketplace. Because once a platform realizes what gets your dopamine flowing, it knows exactly how to keep your eyes glued to the screen. The algorithms learn what we like, and then they trap us. It leads to this incredibly powerful concept. Algorithms create mirrors, not reality. Our digital world totally stops being a window to the outside globe and instead becomes one giant, highly addictive mirror, reflecting our own beliefs right back at us. If you like a certain opinion, the platform is going to show you more people fiercely agreeing with it. If you watch a specific type of content, your entire feed just becomes completely saturated with it. Let's break down the actual mechanics of this loop. The algorithm learns what you like, it shows you more of it, and it constantly reassures your beliefs, which makes the validation deeply, deeply addictive. We get trapped in this echo chamber where our own beliefs just bounce right back to us over and over again. And what's really fascinating here is that the validation is addictive in this space not because we are actually objectively right about the world, but simply because the algorithm is constantly, relentlessly reassuring us that we are. I mean, it feels pretty good to never be challenged, doesn't it?
Part 3, identity as a performance.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is why Gen Z is especially vulnerable to all of this. The research points out that identity formation is already one of the single biggest, most stressful challenges of growing up. But now, it's being done on a brightly lit stage. There is a stark contrast here. Past generations experimented with who they were in the relative safety of schools, local neighborhoods, and small, forgiving friend groups. Gen Z identity formation happens online, 24 hours a day, in front of literally thousands of strangers. Just imagine the pure exhaustion of trying to discover who you actually are while thousands of invisible judges are rating, commenting on, and scoring every single version of you in real time. Validation stops feeling like a fun bonus. It literally starts feeling absolutely necessary to survive socially.
Because there is a massive difference between expressing a person and optimizing a brand. When external validation completely replaces our internal confidence, we stop expressing ourselves authentically. Instead, we start looking at the data, we check the metrics, and we optimize ourselves. We literally start treating ourselves like corporate products that desperately need to hit a quarterly engagement goal. Which brings us to part 4, the cost of approval. There is a huge, heavy psychological toll to all this optimization. When your entire identity is built on the approval of a massive crowd, every single unpopular opinion or slight decrease in your engagement suddenly feels like a profound existential threat to who you are. Really let this reality sink in for a moment. We have reached a point where likes determine our happiness, comments determine our self-esteem, and followers determine our self-worth. We've outsourced our core sense of value as human beings to completely arbitrary engagement metrics run by tech companies in Silicon Valley. We are quite literally letting an algorithm tell us if we are good enough today.
Let's move to part 5, breaking the bubble, and see how this builds into something much more positive.
Because we absolutely do not have to stay trapped here. It is entirely possible to escape the echo chamber, reclaim your identity, and build real internal confidence that doesn't rely on a Wi-Fi connection. So here are the actionable steps to get out. Step 1, recognize that algorithms aren't reality. You have to remind yourself daily that your feed is a highly customized, heavily curated bubble. It is not the actual world. Step 2, seek disagreement. Actually go out of your way to listen to perspectives that challenge your beliefs. True intellectual and emotional growth rarely happens inside your comfort zone. And step 3, build an identity offline.
So, the crucial point is building offline. You need to develop hard skills that don't require staring at a screen. You need to create physical experiences out there in the real world. You need to form real, messy, face-to-face relationships, because these are the things no algorithm can ever take away from you. The absolute strongest confidence isn't built from accumulating thousands of likes. It's built from knowing exactly who you are when absolutely nobody is watching.
Ultimately, we have to understand that this isn't just a social media issue. What we're really seeing is human nature amplified. The need to belong, the deep desire to be accepted, the terrifying fear of being ignored. These are universal human vulnerabilities. Social media didn't invent them. It just strapped a rocket to them and monetized the whole shebang. Your value was never meant to be measured by strangers scrolling past a glowing screen. I want to leave you with one final thought today. Take a breath and ask yourself honestly, if all the likes disappeared tomorrow, would you still like yourself? Break the echo. Build your value offline. Because sometimes the most important conversation you can ever have starts the very moment the virtual applause finally stops.